And good evening, everybody. My name is Tony, and I am an addict. And it's always a privilege to come and address a group of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm an older member. I want to say that because I got a point to make tonight. Tony talked about unity. She talked about being proud of the region. She talked about, the ties that bind us have to be stronger than those that tear us apart. Because it seems like there are, forces at work trying to tear the thing apart. I see that. And sometimes the older members, that we do get a little uptight when we see that. Like, I'll give you an example. Across the river in the New York region, they passed a motion that you can speak if you're under the influence. They stopped saying that at the meetings. If you're under the influence of mind and mood-altering drugs, please refrain from speaking. Now they don't say that. If you are stoned in a meeting, you can raise your hand and say something. Now, when I heard this, I thought it was absurd. Can you dig it? Because I'm going to tell you something. Narcotics Anonymous saved my fucking ass. I'm talking about walking around for 30 years without no message. There was no message back then. You know what the message was? You are going to the house of detention, motherfucker. And I tell you, I walked in there, and I forget, I must have been 15. I think I lied about my age, you see. And I walked in there, and it was written on the wall. It said, once an addict, always an addict. You see. And there was no going to school. Nobody went to school. And no one played ball either. We used to pass the ballpark, and everybody was on the way to the scene to cop. And there was no message of recovery. And there was no Narcotics Anonymous. And as a result, everybody went on and led their lives in total desperation. Hoping against hope. If I could only stop using. That's what we said. If I could only one day. I walked into the first meeting. 1981, they asked me what I wanted. I said, I wanted one day. I said, one day. One day without being hassled. One day without having to go sell your soul to the cop man. You see. One day with having a peaceful afternoon. Did you ever try to have a peaceful afternoon shooting speedballs? I used to say, Tony's my name and speedballs my game. Thinking I was cool, you see. Watching everybody lead their lives doing things I always wanted to do, but I could never do it. Because I had this outrageous need for money. To buy drugs. That was my conversation. Where to steal and where to cop. It was very boring. Talking about living off the land. We used to get up at night and prowl the streets looking to steal. We were like devil bats. All I got to do is describe a day in the life, and you'll know what the fuck I'm talking about. So getting back to what I was driving at before. Getting back to it, by the way, listen to this. In recovery, I feel good most of the time, and I haven't had a bad day since I cleaned up. Because I can describe a bad day to you, waking up in the old Lincoln Hospital on Bruckner Boulevard. Me and my poor, unfortunate crime partner. That's what we used to call them then, crime partners. We woke up in a padded cell. There was rugs on the wall. And sure, the panic gripped us, you see, because we got busted and didn't remember what we got busted for. You see, we were shooting up some Tuinol and Sacanol, and it was a barbiturate-induced stupor we were in, so we couldn't stand in front of the judge, so they dragged us off to Lincoln Hospital. I'm talking about a day in the life. So, when I finally, what happened? By the grace of God, I found Narcotics Anonymous and a way to live my life, to learn how to live my life without using. You see. And something I wanted to do all my life. I said, if I only could stop using. If I only could stop using. If I only could stop using. You know, that's what my friend used to keep telling me. He used to tell me, that poor unfortunate. He never did get the message of recovery. He always used to tell me, we used to get busted, and he used to say, it bees that way. It bees that way. It bees that way. I said, will you shut the fuck up? See, as we got older, it got worse. It got worse. Using when you're 20 and using when you're 40 is different. I'm talking about scuffling. I'm talking about ducking and dodging. I'm talking about being paranoid. I'm talking about hiding behind a tree when a police passes. Can you dig it? And I know that you know what I'm talking about. You see, so when I heard that insanity across the river about people coming, by the way, the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous saved the day for me. And by the way, right now, I am delighted at the turn of events. It's very interesting. I'm doing shit now I always wanted to do. I'm free, and I touch base all the time. You know, I never forget that I am an addict, and have been an addict, and will be an addict. You see. However, my disease is arrested and I'm able to walk the streets of New York City without using. And this is miraculous, you see. Because, you know, they assembled a task force over there where they want to, war on drugs they're talking about. So they spend millions on law enforcement, incarceration, rehabilitation, yet they allow tons and tons of the shit to come on in. Now, if you bring 10 tons of cocaine into Queens, some of the citizens are going to get fucked up. That's where we come in. Dig that one. We're the arrestees, the ones that get arrested. The arrestors are out there waiting to arrest the arrestees. I know I was a receiver on the receiving end. Always watching, always looking, always hoping, always saying, man, if I could only stop. But it was inbred in me that once an addict, always an addict. You never stop. I remember they were outside the bathroom door. I remember my aunt and my stepfather, and my aunt was telling them, Bill, he's in there taking the needle. She said, he'll never stop. Now it's crackhead, crazed crackhead court. And they're dipping the shit in benzene and turpentine and spraying it with roach killer. And then people are smoking it and getting twisted. You know, I'll tell you something. After you smoke that shit for 6 months, we can safely assume you won't be ready to take your GED test. Let's drive the people crazy in the least amount of time and take all their money. Fuck their lives. This is the psychology behind it. Know what the fucking struggle is about. So now they earmark cop spots out there, right? So they come up with this number, 13,000 in the 5 boroughs. So that means you can buy it anywhere at any time. So here we are suffering from the disease of addiction, and where's our protection? Let me tell you where the protection is. Right here in Narcotics Anonymous. The protection is each other. The protection is reminding each other. The protection is reminding yourself. Crucial identification. Self-deception is what we suffer from. We could deceive ourselves. I've had friends of mine that went out after 10 years. Can you dig this? I met a friend of mine after 7 years he went out. I caught him collecting cans. He said, you know, Tony, I lost 57 years old. You know, Tony, I lost my heart, he said to me. I can't steal, because he did spend his whole life in the penitentiary, by the way. So I can't steal, so what do? I collect cans. I need 200 cans for a bag. Dig it! Could happen to anybody at any time. You know, who are we to sling shit at anybody? She was talking about unity. Let's unify, because we do have people that are insane that would pass this and tear the thing down. Don't think it can't happen. You know, at the beginning, and you know, I tell people, when they came up to me, different people, sponsees, friends of mine, and say, how could they pass something like that? What's going on? That's what got me clean. I said, well, it's not the same fellowship that we used to know. Can you dig this? It's changing. And people think they could step on it like a good bag over and over again, and it'll still be good. And I keep doing it. And everybody says, you know, we get people that come up here and they talk for an hour and they don't say shit, and everybody says, ooh, ah, there it is. And they want to sound so good, and to my right is the steps, and to my left is the traditions, and the steps are to the individual what the traditions are to the groups. And I want you to know, perseverance and consistency are the very ropes that will bind your soul to the gatepost of recovery. Well, whoop-de-fucking-do! Let me tell you something. That sounds good. But I'm telling you, you got to make amends for shit you do in recovery. And everything don't go away with the fifth step, you know. There are some things that diminish in frequency. There are some things that go away altogether. There are some things that don't go away. And here's where acceptance comes in. I'm talking about recovery. I'm talking about being aware. I'm talking about being in. Most of my friends in New York City, by the way, my dear friends, are suffering from the virus. I have to mention this because it's very significant. And you know something? None of them are using. Their life is better now with problems without solutions than it was when they were using. And there is no more profound message of recovery than that. See, I don't tell a story of the loser anymore. I used to. Like Tony, I didn't have anything either. I was 41 years old when I stumbled onto it. That's what happened. It had to be the grace of God for me to find the second meeting of Narcotics Anonymous in New York City. And when I walked in and they told me, are you powerless? You see, they walked in, they were reading the first step. We admitted we were powerless over our addiction and our life had become unmanageable. I said, that's being very kind to what the fuck is going on in my life. Because that's what was going on. It was all kind of crazy shit going on. It was scary. You see? Because some of us try to be gangsters and dope addicts at the same time. Oh, by the way, there are no gangsters on the methadone maintenance line. You won't find any. There are no gangsters smoking crack out there either. But they think they are. Some of them think they are. You see? Metadona sta cabrona. That means methadone is a bitch. Can you dig it? And that's the treatment. So what enables me to walk the streets of New York City without using, with all that going on, with tons and tons of the shit, dealers all over the place, everybody selling and buying and shooting and all kind of crazy shit. So what do? We come to the meetings of Narcotics Anonymous and we already proved our point. We made little Joe the hard way. That's double deuces, by the way. Check this out. We are meeting in a Jacob Javits Center on May 28th. By the way, everybody's invited. Big event. That's a big event. Everybody's invited. Most of the people ran away from New York to stop using. See? Now all of a sudden, we proved the point when we met in the Bullet Stadium. I took a guy in there that was a crackhead. Most of it, he spent a lot of money on crack. I just put it that way. He's a good guy. And he walked in the Bullet Stadium. I took him in there with me. He said, my God, all these people stopped using. He walked out with a different state of mind, he was convinced that he could stop using. You know, if you walk into a state, and you know what the Senate Investigating Committee said? By God, we give all this money to all these places designed to rehabilitate narcotic abusers, and we give nothing to Narcotics Anonymous, and they do more than all of these fucking places put together. And that's the truth. And the truth will set you free. To thine own self be true. The truth will set you free. If you be an addict, you are an addict. I had a guy tell me, I'm not an addict, I just use heroin. I said, to hell you say, you just use heroin. No one uses heroin and cocaine sociably. Nobody smokes crack sociably. Once you pick up the stem, you're going mad. Who's going to do one speedball? What are you going to say? Blanche, I'll be over Friday at 9. Fix me just one speedball. Then after I bang it up, I'll rob you and every motherfucker in the house. And I walked into Narcotics Anonymous and I got honest with myself and I had to tell myself I was powerless. When they told me you were powerless over heroin and cocaine, I said yes. I didn't even have to think about that one. They said, tell me, why do you shoot so much of that cocaine? I said, I tell you, it intensifies my personality, I tell you. They said, oh yeah? What if you're an asshole? Then you're an intensified asshole, aren't you? So I stopped saying that. I said it intensifies my hearing. I got so I could hear you lick a stamp. If you dropped your socks in the next room, I had a coronary thrombosis. I jumped out of my skin. By the way, I needed all that to show up. I needed all that to show up, I tell you. I didn't feel right. I thought I was missing out on everything. If I didn't do anything every day I was out, I was high. I had to be. Because I couldn't live with it. I couldn't live with myself. And I don't know how it happened. Some people say, well, I went to my therapist and I found out that after 30 years I hated my grandmother. Because she didn't give me any chocolate milk with the oatmeal cookies. And that's all right. That religion and medicine and psychiatry weren't the answer. In desperation, we sought help from one another. And that's where it's at. And if a guy like me can walk in the room of Narcotics Anonymous and get the message of recovery, why can't I? know there's people in this room that are struggling. The trials and tribulations of what's happening. I know there are people in this room that do not believe even. They feel that it doesn't apply to them. And I know the game outside is accelerated to now it's high risk. It's very dangerous. And I know people play it. Young people, old people, it doesn't matter. See, in the beginning we used to work on the premise that if you use from adolescence to adulthood, you develop the disease of addiction and you short-circuit your emotional capacity to feel. Nowadays, I work with people that are over 35. They simply went to a party. I'm working with a couple of gals. They went to a party and somebody said, come here, Bev, take a hit. She took a hit and went crazy, lost everything. It only took her 2 years to lose everything. Now she's in Narcotics Anonymous, and she knows in her heart she does not have to use. Now check this out. You know, Narcotics Anonymous people are the real people. They're our people. They're us, you see. So for us to sling shit at one another is doing everybody an injustice and a disservice. Because I'll tell you the truth, you don't know who's going to be here tomorrow. You really don't. And what do we do with each other? We have to be here to support each other. See, I'm not going to be dictated by conventional thinking that are going to tell me to go out there and hate groups of people. I grew up like that. And I found out all the guys that I looked up to were full of shit. And all their jive rules and everything out the window. So in Narcotics Anonymous and recovery, we take people as they come. You see, there is no, we're all in the same boat. I don't expect it to go away. I don't expect the prejudice to go away, but I'll tell you something. In recovery, it's about change. It's about accepting each other. It's about being brothers, not just saying it. I don't just say none of this shit. That's what I tell the people I work with. I don't just come up here and talk this shit and then go out to Duffy's Tavern and have a few belts, We're talking about the Jersey Convention. We're talking about unity. We're talking about making it. We're talking about having it. Yeah, I want to just say something. A friend of mine, a girl, just asked him before about how you doing. I like my life, he said. I went for that. Somebody come up and ask me how I'm doing. I'm feeling good. And things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to be. And I'll tell you, my most nightmares, darkest nightmares, have come to reality in recovery. Talk about relationships and health issues and being multiply diseased and all this crazy shit that we have to live with, by the way. And it ain't all right to pick up. This guy picked up. Let's give him a great big round of applause, they said. So I picked up. I'm about 5 days. I've been coming around 10 years. I got 2 minutes. Well, you don't want to stop, do you, motherfucker? Quite obviously, if you keep doing the same shit and you go to places where everybody cleaned up, what the fuck is your excuse? Are you going to tell me you can't do it? I went to my friend, he was under an oxygen tent, smoking a cigarette. I said, let me get out of here before this motherfucker blows the place up. They told me to go see a doctor. One day, I remember a bad day. We were having a bad day, So my friend said, don't worry about it. We'll live off the land today. I said, what? We're not in Kentucky. We're in New York City. Now we ran downtown and I said, well, what's good? They said, Death was the name of the bag. Death. They had a coffin on there with 2 candles. I went running into 6th Street. Who's got death? Give me 10 death. I want 10 death. Here's heart attack, motherfucker. Try that. We spent $200 that day, and then we reminded ourselves we were starving. We didn't eat for 4 days. So we went in the back of a supermarket and broke open a package of bologna, slapped it on the heel of a Wonder Bread, and choked the motherfucker down. Some warm root beer, and bring some pickles over, I was telling them. I recall. The manager came over and said, what are you doing? I said, look at this motherfucker interfering with our lunch. Hey, look. I don't have to talk no shit. That's the truth. I tell you the truth. I have no time to mince words with anybody. It's true. I tell you that you can stop using. I tell you that your life can change. I'll tell you that if you stick with it, it will be beyond your wildest dreams. I'll tell you that you'll have 1,000,000 friends. I'll tell you that you'll feel good. I'll tell you that you'll have a peaceful afternoon. I'm talking about the calm that comes about you when you finally work in the steps of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm talking about the principles. I'm talking about being honest with yourself and telling yourself you can do one. I'm talking about having hope, seeing other people there doing it. I'm talking about faith, a belief belief in something spiritual, something you can't see and you can't touch. I'm talking about courage, a state of mind that enables you to confront your fears without using. I'm talking about trust, another human being with the exact nature of your wrongs. I'm talking about willingness to be willing. I'm talking about humility, the essence of recovery. I'm talking about perseverance, to write a list. I'm talking about restitution, to step up to the plate. I'm talking about forgiveness. I'm talking about forgiveness, to forgive somebody else and turn around and forgive yourself. I'm talking about a philosophy of recovery. And my morals were below sea level, I'll tell you. And I walked in, and by virtue of the philosophy of recovery and the principles, you see in the beginning, we just used to read the white book. And practice the principles in all your affairs. And practice the principles in all your... Nobody knew what the principles were. Somebody, what are the principles? I don't know. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Happy, joyous, and free. This kind of stuff. And there was no book. There was no basic text. There was a white book. And we used to read The Fat Addict all the time. It's true. And nobody believed. No, and we used to celebrate recovery. We used to celebrate recovery. A day clean was a big score. And in 2 days, then the physical part was off of you. You threw it off. Now you were scared because you lived in an environment where your fabric was eaten away by drugs. And you were susceptible to this. And it was very weak because there was only a few meetings. Now there's 2,000 meetings across the river, and God knows how many in Jersey. Now who's going to tell me that you can't stop using? Is anybody going to come up to me and tell me I can't stop using? And it takes more than going to a meeting. You need the capacity to fit in. To raise your hand and fit in. We'll accept you and embrace you. No one gets turned away. And people that mess up, you know it's not all right, but come on in. Because I've seen people mess up time and time again, then finally get it. I'm talking about hardcore addiction here. We're talking about using. We're not talking about, you know, years ago they used to say, hard drugs or soft drugs? Are you on hard drugs or soft drugs? Are you on reefer? And are you reefer and drinking, or are you on heroin and cocaine? Well, it's only soft drugs. So they come up, that was 30 years ago, they come up with a big conclusion. They spent about $100 million. They found that people that smoke reefer and drink liquor most certainly end up using heroin and cocaine. Elementary Dr. Fazul. That's the big thing today. That's what they came up with. They're calling marijuana and alcohol gateway drugs. It would lead you into the, you know. Then, of course, we know that if you pick up a stem, you're going mad. I asked a guy... True. I asked the guy, what do you do? What is your drug of choice? He said, I am a magic carpet flyer. I said, to hell you say, a magic carpet flyer. And dragon chasers and hula hoopers and slam dunkers and space bases. You know, and charm llamas and whatever blows your dress up. It doesn't matter what brand of insanity it is. The only thing that matters is that you're here in Narcotics Anonymous. You know what a young fella that I was working with told me the other night? He said he went down to 8th Street, and he's a marijuana smoker. And he went to 8th Street, and they asked him, and he raised his hand and said that he was having trouble smoking marijuana. And somebody in the back room laughed, and he said he never wanted to go back down there again because he was embarrassed. And I told him this: don't judge it by what one person said. Okay, because not everybody comes in here, you know, with all their marbles. Some people come in, the light's on, and nobody's home. Some people come in a few sandwiches short of a picnic. You know, if you're on the methadone, you're not going on a boat ride. That's the truth. If you stressing and fiending, you won't be going to the picnic. You got to put the shit down. So where's the protection? There's the question I'm asking. Where's the protection? Well, I'm able to walk the 5 boroughs and not use. Because I go to meetings, I touch base, friends of mine calling me up all the time. I know who I am. I know that I don't want to use, and I know what I have to do not to use. And I asked that man downtown after 10 years clean, how long did it take? He told me 2 years. Not going. By the way, he's shooting 5 bundles a day. It's a true story. He was getting off in between his fingers. Square business. And we walked out of there feeling good, saying, wow, we're lucky that it's not me. I'm lucky that it's not me, that I didn't have to go through that. You see. I'm talking about freedom. And I'm talking about feeling good. And I'm talking about making it. And making it is not using. And I'm talking about forget unrealistic expectations. You won't be disappointed. It's the truth. I'm talking about living within the confines of reality. Not grandiose fantasies like all my life I was dreaming. Oh, man. I was dreaming, you know. Candelabra dude, romantic, all that. Most of the time I was alone. I used to sleep with a gun. Somebody would say, wow, what a beautiful gun. I said, man, I'd rather sleep with a woman than a pistol. Because I had friends of mine that were looking for me. And these kind of guys that if they said they were going to get you, they'd get you. So I was a little shook up. And it was all about being paranoid because they were crazy. You see. And that's where that was at. So all of a sudden I walked in and I tell you what happened. I began to experience freedom. Somebody said recovery will turn stress into rest. Well, I was out there stressing. I had a stressful time out there. There was no peaceful afternoon. Remember, I went into this doctor. He said, how do you feel? I said, God, I feel terrible. How do you feel? He said, I feel terrible, I tell you. I'm having a terrible day. I robbed 3 apartments and got $13, and then I got beat for 10. I'm depressed. Why are you depressed? That's what he said. And I didn't know what the answer was. I believed all that. What they were talking about. I believed that they tell me that I was incorrigible, that I couldn't come back, that I was unemployable, that I was criminally inclined, all this stuff. I believed that. And I taught myself different. And I learned that I wasn't different, that I was suffering from the disease of addiction. And in Narcotics Anonymous, the disease of addiction could be arrested a day at a time, and there you can have a life. I'm talking about a life. I'm talking about being in love. I'm talking about going on a date. Showing up. I'm going to close, but I just jumped in my mind. It come to my mind. I remember one time I was out there when I was hiding, and I went to a place called the Lucia Society of Singles, and I walked in there desperate, but I had this jive tweed jacket on, and you could never tell how desperate I really was. But I was uptight. And the maitre d' got up and said, now the men will ask the ladies the ladies will ask the men to dance. First thing, suffering from the low self-esteem, I said, they'll never ask me to dance. So sure enough, this gal came up, would you care to dance? I'd love to. So we're dancing, and I said, how about the dinner and the movies next Saturday night? And I wanted to hit it. And all that week, she said, fine, that'd be fine. So all that week, I was all a flutter and wow, you know. Saturday night rolls around, I threw on that jive jacket, you know, and I shot up 2 speedballs, drank a half a fifth of beef eaters, smoked some joints, you see, and my nephew breezed into the room and said, where you going, Uncle Tony? I said, I got a hot date. He said, take some of these mescaline barrels, put them under your tongue, don't let them get on the enamel of your teeth, they'll rot your teeth out. So I said, that's my boy. Let me have them. And I downed and put them under my tongue. By the time I rang the bell, I noticed, man, I was like... I noticed every time I blinked my eye, it was a different color. Chartreuse, yellow, purple, orange, far fucking out, far out. So she breezes up to the door. You all right? Yeah, I'm fine. I was going up and down at the same time, you see. So we breeze over to Lucky Lil's, table for two with a harbor view. We breeze in. They're playing some Mozart music. So I think it's Smokey Robinson. It sounds like to me. You couldn't tell me it wasn't. So we go over there. They give us the menu. They give me the menu. I look at the menu. All of a sudden, I notice the print starts running off the fucking menu. Running off. Running down. Oh, shit. Print is running down. The fucking lights are intensified. You know, then the raisins came out from behind the cups. Doom, 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 doom. Oh, shit. She said, you all right? I'm down into the soup. I got all macaronis and shit all over that jive jacket. I'm leaving. She got up and walked out. You know what I said? Of course you're going to go. I'm a piece of shit. That's how I felt about myself. Can you dig this? I needed all that to show up. Okay, let me bring it up to the present. Okay, the other night I had a date. The other night downtown, 27th Street, I breezed in, bought some flowers, breezed upstairs. In my right mind. Can you dig? Rang the doorbell. Here, I bought you something special. Thought you were a little special. Here's some flowers. Dinner. What do you want to do later on? Let's go back up to the pad. We'll play some music. Had a great time. I'm talking about winning. I'm not talking about looking for the police. I'm talking about making it. And I can't stress it enough. You see, because it's finally happening for me. I'm not dreaming. I used to dream of the day that I'd free the damsel in distress. I used to dream of the day that I'd be in the clouds, She'd be tied to the tracks, and I'd come flying out of the clouds. Here I come to save the day. Okay. In conclusion, I got to close. I just want to say this. I feel good. It's been a privilege to come here and support you folks. I know you're going to come over across the river on the 28th, so we'll all meet in Midtown and we'll have a big celebration. Thank you.